Hi Leo. For this AMA session, we have got Charmie Kapoor. Charmie right now is working as an associate design director at razorpay. Previously, she has led team at unacademy Microsoft. She's also done masters from Harvard University. In this Ask Me Anything session, we have dived deep into different topics ranging from AI, career transition, portfolio building, doing masters, and many more. Charmy was kind enough to answer so many questions and delve deep into how she and her team are using AI in their workflow at razorpay. What has worked well for them and what is right now overhyped, and how you as a designer can use AI in your design process to future-proof your career. And we also talked about question like, is it still a good idea to go for a master's in design? Her experience of doing masters from Harvard University and how she got there. Questions around careers, transition, portfolio building, and so many cool stuff. So I hope you enjoy this session. At the Design Oracles Club, we always believe in sharing this high value information free of cost. That's why there is never and never will be a paywall behind such sessions. I hope you have fun and feel free to share with anyone with whom you feel might benefit with this. Okay, we got a lot of questions grouped into themes using AI in your workflow, career transition, and doing masters at Harvard. Let's start with the elephant in the room, that is the AI in design. This theme is AI in workflow, team structure, and future state. How is AI changing the way you and your team design at Razorpay?
Also, would love to see everyone's faces if you're comfortable turning on your cameras. A few months ago, the leadership team took a decision that we don't want to curb the usage of AI. It's still very early to know exactly where it fits into the process. So everyone in the company is allowed to use whatever tool they feel would work well in their setup. So
Mm.
everything from Claude to a GPT to a Mid Journey to a Suno AI to anything expensive on the company, and we'll see how these use cases are coming about. In those few months, everyone went crazy. For example, to write their own performance doc, people ended up making it a podcast. To create prototypes or animations, people started creating it within minutes instead of spending hours on Figma. For building new research, we had synthetic users set up. What if we raise a user persona set up in different types of tools and we can actually talk to them? What if instead of going into reviews and critiquing your designs, you could have a critique within Claude, which could be one of our design managers giving feedback. All in all, there were a lot of ideas which came in by just the uninhibited use of AI. Today, we use it in two or three directions. One is how can we help you go into the exploration phase, generating more ideas. You go to websites, put in references, create a mood board, and then start designing. With AI, you already start with some directions already in place. Like you tell a Claude or a GPT that this is what I'm trying to design. Tell me 12 unique ideas or even like 20 unique ideas. So you can go into breadth. And second, even while narrowing them down, GPT helps a lot. The second thing we've done is copywriting, illustrations, and visual animations can be
Mm.
done to a very large extent by AI. There's an internal AI at Razorpay which has been fed with what our brand should feel like, the voice of the brand, the tone of the brand. If I'm building a landing page and I write down the copy, it should be able to write it very close to like a copywriter would have written it. Same with the visuals. We have two or three Razorpay styles in illustrations, icons. You should be able to generate a new one in seconds with GPT. We are also experimenting with a new cursor MCP to create designs in code directly without having to use Figma to brainstorm or prototype. That's still in the works, but high level, there are a lot of AI use
Mm.
cases already in place.
Do you think these tools actually improve your process? So they are mostly hype right now.
They definitely do. I think I wouldn't have a good workflow answer because for every project it's different. I'll give you one example. I look into international expansion, which means we are in four countries right now apart from India. One
Mm.
thing where we use AI is if this landing page were of a Singapore versus India, tell me the changes needed. It's amazing how in my onboarding journey, I write OTP in India, two-factor authentication in Singapore, a verification code in the US. I don't have to think about this while going through copy of my design, but it can actually like just hyper personalize it based on geographies. There are definite pros. What I discussed with my team is you should know when to stop. You can go into one mode, overly exploring, overly critiquing. You need to know when it's a good time to figure out, okay, this is a good spot. Let's move on to the next phase. With AI, it's become much faster, but also easy to go into a loop. You can ask anything to AI at any point in the journey. When you actually call it a day and move to the next step is something we're still figuring out.
And these models will only get better with time.
Yeah.
And how do you see the role of designers evolving as AI enables adaptive UI and end-to-end workflow, especially in B2B SaaS?
In general, our process or what we need to be good at remains kind of similar. One or two areas which I'm seeing peaking is understanding the problem. A lot of places skip why you're solving something. You have a user problem, a business problem, a visual problem. So just understanding that makes it very easy to create good prompts. A prompt is pretty easy today, but writing a prompt that solves your use case is still in the works. Solve the use case for you today, the craft side of it. I, after so many years, still like working on Figma and creating like the pixel perfection sort of design, playing around with copy, spacing, hierarchy. So it is still not there in AI, also because it's trained on more average models. It doesn't see the peaks, which are different in craft. So having your own set of taste and being able to have that judgment is amazing.
What skills should designers focus on to stay relevant in the next 5 years? How can they best upskill or highlight AI in their portfolio?
We are already at that stage where you can build an end-to-end design in 2 or 3 hours by using different tools. When I feel designers' problem is like figuring out what problem we are solving at its core. Good designers will know how to do that. Love people who have a strong opinion on visuals. I love working with people who are able to defend things which they feel. AI, they makes you believe you're right in all aspects. Having someone who knows, okay, my hunch is data, my hunch is users helps in moving things forward. Otherwise, AI is great at that was amazing. Let's double down on your idea versus critically helping you think. And I'm a big proponent of everyone still learning the craft of things. Design product versus a design product by the craft.
Right. So just to wrap up the AI thing, what do we recommend to a designer right now who is maybe 1 2 years experience? Which
Mm.
tools should they use? How should they start and get more, I would say, like has AI in the workflow become not only
Yeah.
efficient, but used in a skillful way that leads them into more future growth? How should they
Mhm.
get started?
One of the things I look for now, because it's very easy, there's very less friction in starting to build something. If someone says, hey, I'm good at prototyping, but doesn't have a prototype in their portfolio or in the link they've sent, it's very hard for me to gauge. If you're reaching out, it's very easy to build a prototype on Cursor or Vercel or any tool. I don't have a recommendation of a tool, but if you say that I am great at ABC, it's very easy to build it and just add a link over there as work in progress. I am very happy to look at a work in progress link versus you just mentioning that I know this. It's crazy because I also put out one post recently asking for designers who code. And what that means could be anything in code. The only criteria is you should have built something. The number of people that reached out saying that, hey, I'm looking to figure out ABC versus actually build something. I think there was less than 10% who would have sent me a working link. If you build something, no matter how low fidelity it is, I would love to figure out more because time taken to build something has reduced drastically. Just show me the real work. And I love seeing that in portfolios.
So you say instead of just having Figma prototype, you can now build real things using Cursor, Lovables.
Correct.
Okay, now moving to the next category, which is industry transition and education. Let's first talk about education. So you went to Harvard, right, for master's. Someone is asking, how did she get into MIT and Harvard, and how did her choice of course help her grow professionally? And also, can she explain the entire process of applying at Harvard and MIT for master's in design? and which course would be best for someone already in UX field?
Got it. I'll start from the first one. If I have to think about studying or being at a university, which ones would those be? Only three came to mind at that point in time. I had an undergrad degree in design, so I didn't want to do another design master's. My choice became very narrow because there were only limited number of schools which let you do something plus design. Harvard, MIT, and CMU, which is Carnegie Mellon, were the ones which
Mm,
allowed me to do that. It's- Whatever is written on the website is exactly how much I knew. That you need a portfolio, you need a statement of purpose, you'll need recommendations from either your professors or the workplace you work at. I just approached it in a way like, why not? If so many people are applying from across the world, how hard could it be to get into something like this? I was sure that I'll only go into these three if I happen to go. Otherwise, it didn't make sense. I was already working at Microsoft and had a good backing up of design degree in bachelor's. And I was lucky enough to get into all three of them. The reason I picked Harvard was wanting to go deeper into business. So
mm,
I knew that, okay, if I go to Carnegie Mellon, it's a great school in human computer interaction, a very strong tech school. Same with MIT, very good design school and a tech school. But Harvard has a great business school. So most of my courses there were
mm,
around business, psychology, and design. And yeah,
mm,
I think again made it very easy for me to decide because I had worked in design, I'd studied design. And actually take a minute to tell you about my cohort also over there, like which are the kind of people who come to this program which I did. So this is a very interesting program and it selects less than 40 people across the globe every year. It's people who have some part of design, but they are generally more into another industry. I would be the most core designer of the group. We had someone
mm,
from the Navy, someone who'd worked with the Queen of England in their treasury. We had someone who'd been in the Olympics, more from the sports background, neurobiologist, someone from the army who took a break for 2 years to come here, someone from the Japanese government who wanted to go back to Japan after this. So I loved the part that design was a very different side of not just the screen. People were studying team designs, system designs, government design, public policy design. You have certain courses in the design school, but along with that, you can take any course from MIT or Harvard. So you could do a
mm.
healthcare plus design, business plus design, policy plus design. I love the avenues it opened up. One of my cohort mates went to Antarctica to study how you can design better experiments for ice
Mm.
melting across geographies. My other friend who was an ex-Olympics athlete, went back to her team to implement some of those things. It made me realize design is not just making an app or a website. And I also apply that today to working with teams and working with different functions in the workplace.
Absolutely. Love it. Tejas is asking the chats a question which is relevant. HCI is one of the most common course when you go for masters. So how do you see the role of HCI evolving as you move into designing more human AI interactions rather than just human computer systems?
I think curriculums are drastically going to change with this new set of devices coming in. One is wearables, and second is humans not exactly talking to machines in the way we do now, which is a microphone or typing something. When I speak with my friends in institutions or doing PhDs, they have no idea. But I think it's going to be fundamental in how we as humans use the next set of devices. Phones drastically change how we use apps or communicate with people. I think the next one is going to be gadgetless. Either it'll be a wearable like a pendant or a ring or a set of glasses, and we have to define those interactions from scratch. There's a lot of research going into it. Companies which come up right now will set the benchmark. For example, a chat GPT looking a certain way is leading to 20 other products looking like a chat GPT because it works. But I don't think there's a curriculum also in place yet. Not sure how students are going to be learning this in universities.
It's also an interesting article by Luke Foworski from Google on using AI, and he's talking about how it's evolving. I put in the chat. Maybe people will find it helpful. Also, Tarani is asking one more question with AI. So, what would be the differentiator, a designer who use AI versus a designer who doesn't? What would be the first thing that would catch your attention?
I think it's very hard to see from the portfolio if somebody has used AI or not. You can build the same output by coding something without using a cursor. It changes in the approach of thinking, like what you delegate to AI versus what you do yourself. There are very key use cases I still want to do myself in the team. I don't want to move my one-on-ones with my team to an AI. More human things, even in the team, I want that to be done by a human. But certain things I do want to remove, like doc writing, reviewing PRDs or writing PRDs, which I would delegate. A good person, if not a designer, would know where AI is being used versus not. I'm going with the mindset that let's try to use AI in everything versus any things either I'm emotionally attached to. Like even today, this is outside of design, but I don't do with AI because I love gifting. I want to do the research or figure out what I want to give a certain person versus giving it to someone else. Somebody would be like, okay, doing it, and that's fine. Anything that boosts productivity without removing the essence, I would use AI. To answer the question, I don't think I would get to know from the portfolio if you've used AI or not. Maybe things like timeline or speed to build something would be good markers if a website has gone live in X days versus so much without AI. I would prefer somebody using AI in the right direction and
Okay.
giving things live.
Let's say, do you need deep industry context to make a switch? How do you navigate moving between industries, for example, tech to fintech? What advice do you have for building a portfolio for a new domain?
Personal belief, I don't think you need industry domain at all. The other beliefs I have is there are still very few designers who are just good at design. I think great people can fit in most setups if that is what you align with. In fact, companies these days are also looking to shift things a little bit. A B2B company is looking for a little bit of freshness from B2C to come in, so that things can be looked at in a more consumer way, as in adding more delight, adding more speed. I've seen the other way around also. B2C companies are hiring B2B folks to have more robust systems, thinking in processes, thinking more about scalability. I'm a core believer that no domain expertise is greater than your core skills. So if you're a good designer and you know the kind of setup you want to work in, it will work out. If not in one place, if in five places you've applied, I'm sure it will work out. Our expertise does work in places like business, where just understanding fintech as a business could take more time or you are personally interested in it. I have worked in hyper-local delivery. I've worked at edtech. I'm working in fintech now, and I don't think it matters a lot if you're genuinely curious about the domain. Very good at your own skills, at least in
Mm.
design.
The next theme is about design process, problem solving in impact. And the question I'm going to speak is from Lipsa, Paras, Jan, and Eastern. What is your approach to design process and problem solving in general?
These are the hardest questions to answer. If people think that's the go-to way of hiring or reviewing a portfolio, and I'm sure there'll be other questions regarding portfolio also. But I think hiring is one of the hardest things we do. There are so many biases, unfairness. Even if you're applying to a Google or a Microsoft, there are many ways you could be accepted or rejected. Even today, when I'm hiring, it will be so specific that I know this person has to work in this domain or charter and what we currently need there. There are certain values of a company also. Like at razorpay, we would want someone who is very comfortable working with data. Data is not one of the core things, and it's something else. So it depends so much from company type and also what team you would be working in. Hiring or figuring out whether this is the right fit would be dependent on 10 other things.
Someone is asking a question which is in the same context. Rich
Mhm.
Suri, what do you look for in a portfolio for someone with 2 to 3 years of experience? And what makes a candidate stand out in general?
I can't give a general answer. I'll tell you a
Right.
difference. What I looked for at unacademy would be different from a razorpay.
Mm.
Practically. And I'm going to tell
Right.
you why. Like both of these companies work in very different ways. For example, at unacademy, it would be non-negotiable if you are not good at your visuals or craft to be understanding good hierarchy, typography, color theory, etc. And it's okay if you aren't peeking at the other things. User and business, that would be a non-negotiable. I want to see metrics in your case studies. I want to know if you
Mm.
followed a user-first process to figure out the right set of problems. Can you understand figuring out what P0 problems are? And it's okay if your end output is not the most well polished as of today, even though it has to be at a good quality. It's best to research what that company
Mm.
is good at. One example is go to the designers who are working at the company and what works they are putting out and how they are phrasing their case studies. You learn a lot about what a company would be needing as well. Urban company in India and different from a Zepto. And I think one portfolio might not even work in all three, but would stand out in one highly as a differentiator, which is why I don't think I have this one generic answer for this.
Indeed. Can you please explain what it is working with data?
In a project, there could be different briefs that come in. It could be that you want to elevate the overall visuals of it. Even if you're doing something like that, a data first company will ask you what is the impact of this project. Generally, it can be quantified. You can say something like your onboarding gets reduced from X minutes to X seconds. Second could be your happiness index of the users. When you're taking a rating from them, does that score increase? Designers being able to quantify that output is amazing. And also figuring out, okay, if my onboarding funnel says I have a 20% conversion, do you know it's good or bad? Second, how is this conversion distributed? Like, is this 50% on desktop and 5% on mobile? Or is it 25 on desktop and 15 on mobile? Are you able to critically understand, okay, even if I have to do a revamp, should this be primarily on a certain device? Can you figure out how is this distributed? Is this people who are X type of businesses are onboarding a certain way versus Y are doing it very differently? Um, Having this visualization helps you figure out the core problem to solve. Maybe at the end of analyzing the data, you realize, oh, this doesn't even need a revamp. I can just update copies of the page because a certain set of users weren't able to understand this. And it adds this very nice third dimension of designing, in my opinion, where instead of just working with a brief, build a good onboarding, you figure out after seeing funnels or different user personas, I need an onboarding which solves this for this merchant type so that they can onboard faster. Currently, they have so much friction in understanding the product. Designers think more from users. Data also helps make it more logical and less vague.
How do you know when a design is done?
You never know. And from project to project. I really like this question actually. There are certain projects I pick where I know we will push the craft in this one. And I'm okay going 2 weeks extra if it leads to drastically different output. My bucket projects, if in 1 month we are solving 4 projects, for two, we'll just do a great standard job. And we know that these 4, 5 things are done. This project should be shipped. Maybe there's a tight timeline or the impact isn't as high. Very excited to push one of the things. Ki, "ठीक है, what if we design this not in 2 weeks, but 3 days and get to an equally good output? That is also a good experiment in my mind. There's never an end to design. Most designers backtrack to timelines, which in my opinion isn't the best. There are certain checklists in my head. These basics need to be done. Post that, it's more of, is there anything else which can be solved here? User
Yeah.
problems found. We did think in user stories. We picked up the right 2, 3 things to solve. UX was undefensible. We've solved her responsiveness, etc.
How do you ensure your designs create real impact without clear metrics?
I think you don't need numbers at the end of it, but you will find some signal. Either you'll find a user coming back to it again and again despite other things not working. You might find even less number of users, but using it more often than others. There is going to be a signal, even if it's not a metric. Metrics are just easier to analyze because you can visualize it in front of you. I'll ask you, Shum, do you know if you can do this without a signal? Do you know if it's creating real impact without any signal?
Yeah, I mean, we can know if we talk to people, people share on social media about a product they love organically here. But I think setting up some metrics is very important. That's the clearest way.
Correct. I
Yeah.
think people sharing stuff online is a very good signal. It could
Yeah.
be hating on your product because of some change you've made or just showing love. And even if, and I'm sure that will show up in some data point of your product. I think one good part of this is the delight segment where I don't think
Yeah.
it drastically changes the numbers. But you know, if I saw this small Easter egg or you prefetch something for me or you saw this nice animation, it just makes you feel much better to use the product. And yeah, I think those are some out of the box things which is hard to do, but mainly happens if you have a strong belief that you just want to build something beautiful.
Yeah. There's this guy on Twitter called Nikita Beer, when he launches product, everyone knows that it's working well because everyone is sharing, but it's very hard, right? It can sometimes get missed if you don't have metrics because people might be saying good things, it's helping, but it will not reach us. What are the internal signals for quality and how do you balance feedback with intuition?
I think it would depend on the project. For all projects, small stakeholders equally. For example, if I'm making a landing page, I would listen to a business sales design person way more than an engineer or a PM in that case. Second, intuition needs to play a part if you grow as a designer over time. There would be so many calls which you can't test. Like you won't sit and do an A/B for every decision you take or talk to users for every new design you make. Over time, you also end up making better decisions and intuitions. And that is
Hmm.
also a good marker of a leader that either you
Hmm.
have domain context, you know very well how users work, or you know very well in the past you've done things which have given a
Hmm.
certain result. Don't think anyone is right all the time, but I love working with people who have strong opinions because most people can say, okay, data says this, we'll do an A/B, whatever works better, or we got this feedback from product this design. Let's incorporate most of it and it becomes like a mush of everything. But imagine if a designer from our team stand ups like, hey, this is not happening. We're not adding extra paragraphs just because legal wants it here. This is going to be destroying our experience. And we'll figure out a way to add it without compromising. Those are the best people I love to work with. Intuition comes with
Hmm.
working on hundreds of projects, understanding
Yeah.
quality, right? It's likely to work in this situation.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm also not a big fan of too much data thing. I think it's overhyped in some ways. But at the same time, judgment, product sense, product taste is very important in the coming years. How does one develop a great product judgment that this might be working
Mhm.
well, this might not work well? And if you look at
Hmm.
people like, even Steve Jobs and other great product builder, the Patrick Collison, the Stripe CEO, Shreyas Doshi, Lenny, they have great judgment and product thinking. It's a tough question, but how do you think one can develop those skills?
I think it's surrounding yourselves with designs which you feel are aspirational.
Mm.
It could be physical products plus digital products. Digital is easier. What I have on my phone is like I have a list of good looking apps, is what I call it. And every 1 or 2 weeks, I actually go to the App Store and see which are those Apple awarded apps and actually downloading them and using it. Even if I have no use case, it could be a crypto app, it could be a habit building app. I feel people are way too creative, even if I don't use those
Mm.
products. It blows my mind that how could you come up with this footer design with these animations? Somewhere I might end up getting inspired and using it in a very different context. That is my general habit. Early on, we were discussing what we do on weekends. I generally do look at different kind of apps I downloaded. I refresh what the good looking apps in my phone. I also like buying weirdly unique products which
Mm.
fit into homes in a way. Is your curtain designed in a way which sparks a very different kind of UI? I was contemplating looking at the Nothing phone because it's just
Mm.
broken the concept of well balanced UI in a lot of ways. I know these are expensive ways of doing it, but even smaller things like just getting a plate, a book, or a frame, or
Mm.
a pair of clothing which looks different can spark very different aesthetic in your mind. And I love doing this. If anyone's ever at my house, you see small nugget things which are just not fitting into place sometimes, but weirdly personalized and have some sense of taste on it. Like if you see
Mm.
behind all of these have been created
Mm.
by me. And they're
Oh,
from very
nice.
different parts of my life. Like one would be a map of
Mm.
Japan, which I
Mm.
framed
Yeah.
because this was a train map of Japan and it's beautifully crafted. This is like a quote I live with, that obsession beats talent, and I like to practice that. There are some sport things. I love sneakers and I've created that on my own. This is from local artist here. So you'll find a lot of things in my home which has any aesthetic value, is something either I've created or something I found which was very unique. Otherwise, I don't like buying just plain art to put on the walls, which
Mm.
doesn't mean anything.
I love those behind the scene things you are sharing. It's so nice. Also sharing this article about developing product sense, trying out different products and all. So yeah, just sharing that article. So now I'll share two questions from the chat just to get a break from the usual thing.
Sure.
This question, I love this question because we have faced the same thing. This is a actually hard problem, I think. But okay, I'll say. So Prasant is asking, if you don't mind me asking, how do you companies like Razorpay typically filter through 1,000+ applications for a single role? What
Hmm.
does the screening process usually look like? Since manually reviewing each sounds quite overwhelming. Also, if you're using any tools, ATS or any other new tools are coming up to screens, portfolio, resume.
For the role you recently opened, we were using this product called Superform. And previously, most of our thing is on Greenhouse, helping you with organizing things into place. It doesn't help with filtering a lot. Maybe there are some is with AI, you can figure out filtering or go through things faster. At the core of it, it is going through portfolios. Given that any role will have 500 plus applications, it means even more like your portfolio. Nobody is giving more than 30 seconds in the first go. How do you communicate yourself well? I am a slightly picky reviewer. I don't like typos. If I see in your intro some mistake in grammar, it's not a rejection, but it's not a highlight for me. I also look
Mm,
at how you've portrayed the diversity of projects you've done because you really don't know at what point in time what kind of role you're hiring for. If I look at your page and I see you worked on an app, you worked on a website, you worked on research projects, it tells me, okay, you have a good mix of these things. It's easy to do. And more often than not, I'm generally looking at one case study. So whichever is your best case study, put that up front because people aren't going through all of the 5, 6 projects you've done. And look at one, did you understand the problem well? In the end, did that whatever designs you've shown solve that problem? Like if you say in the beginning that people have a very long waiting time and in the end you've solved for something different, it is a clear no. And I've seen interactive things. You had a video prototype, something for me to visually see it very
mm,
fast. These days, I'm loving loan portfolios. People are going on to a loan,
mm,
making personalized ones that, hey, I know you're looking for this, this, this. These are my 3 projects. It's like a 2-minute video. I'll watch it on 2x. In 1 minute, I have a very clear idea of, okay, this person communicates well. This is the project. Eventually going through portfolios in like 2, 3 minutes per portfolio max.
mm. Also put the link of Superform in the chat and you want to check out. We also use it for our last hiring at Design Originals. It's a really nice, well thought through tool with the shortcut A and S. You can shortlist and archive and also help you send the email from there. It's like, yeah, very lightweight at the same time expensive. I actually discovered that from your tweet.
I would be biased because I've designed the product. So,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
which is why I'm also wanting people to
Yeah,
share feedback from you liked it.
yeah. So also, so are you using any ATS or any? So there are new tools coming up, even which can scan designer portfolio and maybe let's say a 2, 3 thousand application and rank them. I have
Yeah.
personally tried and I haven't liked them honestly, but I would love to know your opinion if you have used those tools.
I haven't used them personally. I know companies which are using it to look for certain keywords or give
Hmm.
certain ranking to the kind of projects they want. I know the future is going to have AI interviews very soon. I know
Hmm.
places which have the first round shortlisted by AI and also taken by AI. People who receive thousands, if not tens of thousands of applications on a monthly basis. I don't know what kind of hacks you have to do to get your portfolio
Yeah.
or just answer in a certain way that AI likes it. I genuinely like interviewing or talking to people when I'm hiring for my team. I think I saw something in the chat asking, what do you look for? In the end, I look for people who
Hmm.
enjoy designing and have that little bit of hunger. Like I know if you
Hmm.
little bit hustled and figured out, even if let's say you didn't go to a design school, but you figured out how to design is a great green flag for me.
Hmm.
You don't have this in our company, but you figured out how to do this. I love these hustlers who give those signals during interviews that I've done this. I always ask about side projects whenever I'm talking to people in interviews. At least for me, I think it will be harder to move that to AI. I don't think anytime soon an AI would be reviewing for me. I also have FOMO if I miss out a good portfolio.
Yeah.
I want to go through them, but it's an inevitable future.
It sounds sad. Black Mirror type, birds and soulless machines now rejecting candidates and people. What are your favorite design projects, experiences you have worked on, or that you have experienced?
Favorite design projects I've done?
Projects, experiences you have worked on.
There would be so many. Let me think of a good example. One of my recent projects at Unacademy was amazing. There's this product called Compete, which still exists. It is one-on-one gaming while learning. We essentially had to build a game of sorts of quizzing, which you can play during IITG prep or 12th standard prep. I loved every aspect of it because we studied games very closely, like how point systems work, what kind of psychology goes if you give a leaderboard versus a rank versus shareable cards. It was a huge success at an academy where people played this. The core problem was a lot of our students used to commute by bus. In those 10-15 minutes, a lot of them wanted to revise things, finding your notes or bookmarking something, or do you just revise concept by playing a mini game? Let's say you studied physics ka chapter 3 in the morning and now you're just revising this while you're going to your class. This was a very good project, and eventually we also made a YouTube show out of it, which some YouTubers had covered it. It became a proper game show where students came and played the academy complete experience. I love it also because we did it in a very short span of time, which made me believe that projects can be done fast. I think the end-to-end design would be done in less than 3 weeks, from overall journey to branding to flows and
The
everything.
next set of questions are in a theme of early careers, mindset, and mentorship. The people who ask them are Srihari, Shraddha, and Nikhil. If you were starting your design journey today, what would you do differently?
I would explore more AI tools today and started my journey on Illustrator, which is one of the most boring tools. Second, what has worked for me, I wouldn't do it differently, but I would recommend everyone to do it, is I DM people a lot. I reach out to either if I've used their product and I really like it, or I've used their product and I don't like it, and I avoid publicly tweeting about. Then I do message people, and I've built a lot of long-lasting relationships with people that way. There are examples where when I was in college, Zomato, Paytm, Instagram, all of these were getting built. And I've pinged people from the early Instagram team saying that, hey, what if you had videos and this is a quick flow I made where you could add videos. I've pinged people at Google when Google Slides was getting created. So I think just reaching out to people more if you like their work and exploring newer tools. There shouldn't be an hindrance with the rate of things. I think I am also not exploring newer tools to build today. I wish I had that sort of time and freedom, and I should do that more as well. Just every weekend pick up a new tool and try to do something in design, because you don't know what that next design job is going to look like.
I think what you are saying is that individual with high agency. Those who don't know, I've shared about agency things, so you can read more about that. Do you take on mentees? And what do you look for in someone you mentor?
I officially don't take something like a mentor mentee. I think my favorite way is working with someone for a slightly longer duration on a project. I can tell you a lot of things and maybe you'll just hear it and can't apply it. I think my mentees are my team at the company I work at, but I generally reply to most people who reach out regarding something. I don't like the generic things. How do I learn design? If you ask me something specifically, I go out of my way to answer. If you ask me, like, how do I apply to Harvard? I am sure Google will give you a better answer than I will. But if you ask me, what should I write in my recommendation letter, I'll probably help you with that.
And how do you deal with imposter syndrome and career breaks? Have you taken any career breaks in between?
Yeah. After Unacademy, actually, I spent 5-6 months figuring out what I wanted to do next. And again, this comes with a lot of privilege because I did not have to financially take care of my family. I had done some calculation that for certain months, if I did do a job, it would be okay. Because I can't see everyone's faces, I would just want a reaction if it's going well. Cool.
People are loving. I think they're a bit shy. Please,
I know.
camera on, Carlo.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So what I did in my career break, and I playing sports, so did a lot of that. Second, I reached out to so many people. I still have this list somewhere where I reached designers and founders across the world. It's a list of more than 100 people. And I spoke with them regarding what kind of design they do, IC to manager to what sort of a domain you're working in, etc. I actually ended up doing a trip to the US for about 2 months where I visited all the places I would have loved to be a part of. I went to the Notion office, the OpenAI office, and actually met designers there to figure out like would something like this be interesting to me. And a lot of crazy stories. Like I met the head of design at Gumroad. I spoke to designers at Nike. I love Nike as a brand and how they do digital design. Would something like that be useful for me? Most people are responsive if you format your questions nicely and be humble. So if I would have reached out to more than 500 people, I would have gotten 100 replies, out of which 50 agreed to meet me. That's how I spent my break figuring out I want to work with a smaller setup versus a large organization. Someone who is doing something in AI, maybe still work for India. People ask me,
Yeah.
you could have worked for global companies. I still feel like the way India is growing and expanding. So wanted to pick a problem statement here. That might change in the next few years. But yes, that
Yeah.
was my 6 months of contemplating what to do next.
I think everyone should take, if it allows them financially, a mini sabbatical, at least 3 months, 2 months break. I've also taken them multiple times and it's been so helpful. Our next set of questions are from the theme of leadership, team dynamics, and stakeholder management. The people who ask them are Rishabh, Dave, Harsh, and Vishesh. Let's start with the first one. What are the biggest mindset shift and lessons you have learned moving from a IC to design leader? Are you still doing IC work these days? What percentage?
It would be 80% management, 20% IC. My IC is also worse because of FOMO, when I think things are moving too fast and I need to keep up with the tools, keep it a little fresh. Mindset shifts. I've learned new things every 6 months while managing a team. My biggest one has been that not everyone wants a career like you and wants to work like you. When I started managing a team, my go to thing was everyone wants to grow at this pace, everyone wants to work this way. That has changed a lot for me. Second, everyone wants different things from a job. Not everyone will be happy with the sort of setup you would be happy with. Being able to understand someone is here for project, someone is here for people, someone is here for money, someone is here for the title, and all are completely okay at any point in time. But my approach to managing that has changed a lot. Where I know, okay, this sort of a person would require this kind of help, or how much do I intervene as well. I think adjusting to other people's way of learning too. For example, I early on loved getting on files with my team and actually jamming together for 1 or 2 hours and closing something. And I realized not a lot of people like this. Many people just like async structured feedback. So now I figured out who in my team likes to work a particular way. Like, do a call and give you feedback for half an hour, or do I send you Figma messages and structure it properly, or do I get onto the file and we are just discussing ideas? I figured out that there are so many different types of working ways, and in my career I've not found a lot of managers who would go out of their way to do it. A lot of my managerial learnings is from what I did not get when I wanted it. I missed out on getting feedback a certain way, so I go out of my way to do it. Did I miss out on something else? If someone in my team is not a communication designer or an illustrator but likes doing it, can I figure out a project where you can do it without moving teams? I think that's my learning of.
Yeah. I think next question you already answered that what mistakes you make early in your leadership journey and how did you overcome them? I think it almost covered what you said.
I think one size fits all was an approach I was trying and it doesn't work for a lot of people. I think patience as well. If you're in a long career, people will have a lot of ups and downs, and sometimes it'll take longer to get things done. Sometimes they'll be superly motivated and your approach changes based on that. I didn't
Yeah.
learn that early on and slowly get better.
How do you help your team stay productive and adapt to new tools or workflow?
I think both have different answers. How do they stay productive? My approach, which I've heard is maybe good at times, is I love knowing people at a personal level. So anyone in my team would be friends with me. I know what you like, what you do, who are you outside of razorpay, for example, and it makes it very easy to figure out your goals and give you feedback versus harsher feedback also. If I know that, can you trust me as a person? To build that trust, I need to become friends. We play sports together or do stuff together. And I feel that is the best sort of dynamic for the workplace where people like working with each other also and you like each other as human beings as well. Automatically, I feel the team becomes very candid. And being candid helps you understand, okay, if somebody is being close to burned out, someone is not enjoying as much. And I like that sort of transparency. And I feel that's the biggest way of approaching the problem and becoming productive. It has downsides as well, like getting too close makes it harder to give stronger feedback. That is one. And in new tools, also, I think leading by example, I myself like to still design, use tools, and do things that helps the team pick up things. I have seen ways where you just give instructions like, hey, why don't you do this? But you yourself aren't fluent in that. And obviously, you want to be great at everything, but I like managers who are still ICs because I have that trust that, okay, you've gone through this path and at certain level you are great at these things and I would like to learn from you. And same for my manager as well. Building very strong relationships with my team members and even my previous team members, I'm still very good friends with them, like from Dunzo or Microsoft. The second is just doing what you want your team to do as well. The IC part of it and exploring more. So my team also does more of that.
A lot of people are asking about AI inspiration. We built a small AI vault, which you can refer to and find a lot of cool people who are building AI products. So I have put that in the chat. You can check out. It's called AI Vault, just a curation of AI products built by designers. From the chat now, Prasant is asking, would you be saying doing a master's in design in today's world seems of value? Do you think it makes a huge difference in their career trajectory?
Short answer, no. Today, it's much easier to pick up skills on your own, learn from the internet, learn from people, and do what you want. Most of the people who are doing a master's is to change geographies. If you want to go and work in Europe, master's is an easier route than actually finding a job. Same for the US. Over time, it is losing the charm the master's degree has. It is easier to, yeah, go out and learn on your own.
Priya is asking, despite having a master's from what made you decide to settle down in India?
And still don't think I've settled in India, but I had a very strong feeling of working for Indian problems when I was in the US. At my core, I'm a little, I need to be solving for problems which are closer to home, closer to people, which is why unacademy made sense, then Razor made sense. I also feel it's more relatable to me to solve things which are closer to problems I have seen around me. But that goes without saying that in the future, this could change. When I was in the US, this AI wave wasn't there. Most revolutionary companies were being built in the US. It does look like that today, where a lot of fun stuff is happening there. COVID made me realize you can do anything from anywhere. Even today, I reach out to all sorts of people, companies, and learn from them. I still don't know if I've settled in India, but at that point, I really wanted to work for Indian problems and felt that was the right move. With the kind of background I have, it should be easy to go back to the US if I want to in the future.
Rishi is asking a question on the Harvard thing. You mentioned about the cohort link with Harvard where people from different domains came together. Can you please tell which cohort was that and how it's helpful for us designers to approach Harvard for masters?
I must share a link. This program has been evolving and so are the names, but this would be the link. It probably would have all the alumni of this program. And you can see the kind of careers they're taking. Is the question more around how do you get to this cohort or what do you learn and apply from this cohort?
I think that person is just curious about the cohort. What was the value you found there?
The value for me was realizing design means a lot of different things versus UI UX. I think I was a little constrained with that thinking. Today, even like while hiring or help other founders build teams, some of these principles I use there from purely like design just means solving problems in any way, not just on screens. I can go into depth of courses as well. I took those 2 years reading and studying about stuff which I never would myself. So I've taken a course on the science of happiness. I took a course on launching and building high competence teams. So From there, I think a very interesting course I took was the art of looking slowly. And in that course, essentially, you just look at things around you and analyze in a way where you just stop and observe, which a lot of people don't. I think it's changed the way I approach life. I like sitting and watching sunsets. I like one-on-one longer conversations and small things which I don't think I would have learned on my own. It's changed the way I think about life.
Next question by Saista. What are your daily design practice one can do as a brand UI designer? And second, what is the best way to show present portfolio behind the
Hmm.
website? Which impact better?
The a designer, I have spent a lot of time just taking a snapshot of an app or product you like and actually copying it. It's taught me a lot about fonts, spacing, colors. I think that would be the place where I learned, oh, don't use exact black, use some shade of gray. Don't use exact white, use something else. So I don't do it as often, but I've done it for 1 or 2 years in my early career where maybe today just take a screenshot of 3 pages of Spotify, Airbnb or something and actually do it and you realize how far your UI skills are from the apps you like. And over time, you'll start seeing yourself taking better taste calls. Second, on the portfolio, this might sound a little harsh, but I hate Google Drive portfolios. It is so hard for someone to open a Google Drive link, open the folder which has 4 PDFs. It is very close to a rejection for me unless your work is crazy out of the park. I just give anything which is easy to open and go through. A website is amazing. Notion is okay. Notion sometimes doesn't work that well if there are multiple different pages. Framer has made it very easy to host websites with templates. Just pick something responsive and build it. I don't like PDFs or Google Drive links. I think those are the worst.
And like PPT slides, Figma slides, are they okay?
A lot of people make Figma slides thinking that they'll be open on desktop. So many hiring managers open on phone and they'll be like a mini view and you'll miss out a lot of things. And even in Figma slides, you'll give first 4 5 screens as intro of yourself for your project and people lose interest there. They want to, a website is much easier to just scroll and figure out a project that makes sense and go through it. Not as bad as a PDF, but not preferred.
And I also made a lot of resources. I'm going to share 2 links that contain resources to improve your UI brand. Anyone want to check out? It's in the chat. Next question. If you have a fairly long career, but stuck at IC senior role because of company structure, would getting a specialized master degree now would help in making a shift to leadership role? Or what change would help make that shift? People are interested in the masters.
Yeah. I don't think necessarily getting a design master's will help you in leadership or might be a waste of money if that's your goal. Even in the company you are working at, it's easier to, let's say you want to hire an intern, figure out how management works in a very small setup and then build that confidence with your team. Many times it won't be a role in this company, but there would be enough places where maybe you have to wait, take a level different or learn on the job and then get that title. Even when I got it, I was managing a team before I actually became a design manager for over a year. You need that first year to figure out what your go-to style is going to be, how you manage conversations and all of that. Masters, I don't think would be a great path unless you do an MBA and become a product person. If I were to approach it, I would actually just look for openings or places I would want to work at with very clear ways of why I would be a good manager in that company.
How do you discover best opportunities in design, India and overseas? And how do you reach out to them? Any tips that work for you? I think overseas is a bit different story.
I reach out to a lot of people. What I've learned is you don't necessarily need to have a design opening. You need to study companies and like what they value. You'll understand from the kind of designers they hire, what kind of people they're also looking for. I would do a little bit of research and ping them with a very personalized message. I reach out to people a lot just to learn as well. Like I'll ping Julie Zo saying that I'm hiring this team and I would love to know 3 or 4 things as I move to the next step and get help from her. There'll be 30 other people I would do this for. And people like it when you've done a little bit of research on them or their company and you have those skills which add value. I have hired people even without there being a design opening in the team if they get out of the way and show me that they can add this skill. Even outside India, I would use the same strategy. It obviously get harder with all the visa issues and travel, but cold DMing is an art and crossed.
When you reach out outside, the conversion is lower. First, they prefer remote, mostly in US, Europe time zone, and also in general, the conversion is a bit less. People just reach out when they want a job. If they
Yeah.
would just build a connection first, I mean, let's say you find that product, you like them, you use it, you just build a connection, maybe.
That's a great point, actually. There's this product called Todoist. I talked to the founder in 2017, saying that I absolutely love using your product and just sent him a few ideas that I would love if ABC existed. I was talking to him last year as well, just about something we're working AI. And people are responsive if you write well. And just building that connection. And I know if I need a connection help or something, when if I'm looking for a job, I would love to speak with that person again because 2017 means it's been 8 years and we've exchanged messages. And maybe now he knows a little bit about me and I know about their company. And you're absolutely right. Not always just be like, yeah, I need a job. That's when reaching out is the best way.
I also learned because I work with a lot of people outside. So a lot of money is there in US and Canada. I also learned that one shouldn't be transactional. I think about what you can give to them first. How can you be helpful? Yeah, I mean, anyone can do that. Reach out for job. They will get hundreds of messages, especially from India. They will not differentiate. If you already know them, build a connection, and they know that you don't want something from them. Maybe you just appreciate that you're working out for example, Gumroad. So she was asking, looking at your career path, it seems like you have consistently joined teams with strong design cultures. Is that an intentional decision? And for folks earlier in their career, what signals should we look for when evaluating whether a team is set up to support good design and meaningful work?
Good question. Yes, I have intentionally gone and spoken to multiple people before joining teams. My biggest signal is how does the founder describe their company or business? All the companies I've joined in now have some aspect of design, which has come through. Dunzo was very design first. We built maps and tracking at that point in time when it didn't exist. Very open to even experimenting with things. I care a lot about who I would be reporting into. There are many things you can optimize for, but I want to know who my manager is. And I speak to that person candidly, even without an interview. I want to know what do you look for in your team. I explicitly ask them, why should I work with you? People who can articulate that well clearly know what their strengths are also. Like if somebody asks me, why should I work with you? And I don't have an answer, it's not a good sign. It's okay if you're not good at certain things, but you should know like what is this person good at? And in the past, I've tried to do that and work with people who are good at certain design skills. I also talk to ex-employees. I do talk to them and see what their take is of the company because I think Glassdoor and all become biased because not everyone is looking for the same thing. From an academy, let's say if they say they make you work a lot, that might be a 5 for someone and a 2 for someone. When I speak, I understand patterns from ex-employees. What is the issue? Why they left? What went wrong? That's helped me make more thought out decisions. I'm generally more structured as a person. I'll make a list, I'll make an Excel sheet, I'll have some thoughts going about. I spoke with so many people just to have an idea of the world is offering some great places. And you understand all this is not rosy. Even if you talk to one of the best companies like Sigma, you realize things are not working the way they're supposed to be. I'm just saying Sigma as an example, but internally speaking to people and especially ex-employees and talking to ex-employees, I've also missed a lot of offers after knowing how the place is. So yeah, doing that research helps.
Do you think a candidate should also, what kind of question should they ask? Maybe they are doing the interview. What should they ask the interview?
Early on, I wanted to know what makes you promote people. And that tells you a lot about what the company values. Is it execution? Is it innovation? Is it product thinking? Is it business thinking? It's an indirect way of asking what the company values. How do you promote people in your team? From a manager, I do always ask, what are your strengths? Why should I work with you? What are some things you are working on as a team? It helps to know that. Projects generally is easier to get info on, so I don't ask that very often. I think these would be on the top of my mind.
Yeah, these are great. Do you want to continue a few more minutes?
Let's do
Maybe.
it. 15, 20 minutes.
Thank you. So next one by Ritik. How can I measure my impact of design work after shipping a B2B product,
Hmm.
especially when focusing mostly on delivery over outcomes? The context is that I work in a design agency which focus a lot on timelines and less on impact and deep problem solving.
It does get harder in design agencies because what
Mm.
happens there is you're in a particular phase or life cycle of the company. Good design agencies give you pre and post of the project, but most need very specific help in a section and then you're pulled out of that pipeline. I have never worked in an agency, but what I've heard from people is you can build the project in a way where you start from impact itself. If you're working at an agency and revamping a checkout page for the company, can you get data before you start designing? What are the payment methods people use? What is the time spent on the page? What is the success of the page? Even if it takes 2, 3 months, getting that information from people, I think the best way is to actually ask or do this before starting and after doing it. Do you have more experience with design agencies? I haven't been a part of any. So,
I
yes.
was in my early career. There are some good agencies. The advantage is that you get to work on better project. So the skills you develop is that you can shift fast. I have seen there's a high bar for visual design in agencies.
Hmm.
A lot of pros, but the biggest con is that you are not going in depth. Let's say my client is razorpay. I made something for you because I'm not working there internally. So I
Hmm.
won't get to see the data and all. Although I have seen in the past, I have also tried with my clients to get access to amplitude and other tools to see what's happening. But depth wise, you have to join a product company. There are some clients that would give you access, but they won't treat you as their own employee. But also, there are a lot of pros. You get to shift very fast in design
Yeah.
agencies and the breadth of project. You can work on fintech, tech, travel, apps, framework, etc.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think once you get NS breadth, then you can switch up for a product-based company.
True.
Yeah. Also, one question by Trouble AI thing. So, how did the design team at Razorpay create the internal AI?
Okay. So, our internal AI is based for different products. There's one AI for illustrations creation, there's one for research, which one of our designers has created, there's one for data as well. I don't think we have a central Razorpay AI, but we have different products where we fed it information on use cases and the kind of work we do. So I'll give you an example of the illustrations one. What our team has done, these are two designers from our team, Adrish and Karthik have built this, where they took all the examples of illustrations they and previous illustrators have created JSON files out of it and actually fed Claude JSON files, then moved it to ChatGPT and created a custom GPT out of it. So at the end of the day, you are able to understand layers, colors, and the sort of styling. For example, should there be a shadow or should there be a stroke? Should there be a gradient or should we be solid? There's also a very in-depth prompt that has gone into creating the custom GPT. We always show buildings in a certain way. We show devices in a certain perspective. It has been like feeding it previous data plus writing new prompts on how you want it to be created. A very different approach to users. Like Karen from our team has created a user researcher Gemini tool. You are able to previously understand from our personas that for Razorpay, three types of persona is a small business owner, an enterprise owner, and a solo
Mhm.
entrepreneur. And what would general problems of these over time, what she's curated is that it doesn't solve for majority of the use cases, but it's a good brainstorming board that, hey, I'm solving this. What type of solution would work for a business owner versus a small shop?
Mhm.
So yeah, I hope
Mhm.
that answers the question.
And you are heavily relying on AI right now. Your workload, it will keep on increasing, right?
Yes,
Mm.
for sure.
Prasant is asking, Charmi, please tell me how could I work under you or your team? I think there's so much to learn and grow working your team. I agree.
Yeah, I would love to work with more people. I am hiring for my team at Razorpay right now. Please do apply. We've actually in the process of shortlisting people. Even if we don't end up working together and you need any help, I am most active on Twitter. I don't use LinkedIn or Instagram as much. So ping me and if or Super DM, which is another product I have built. If you want to reach out, I'll also write it down here. Reply to more than 90% of the people if your question is framed properly. Generic stuff I generally don't answer and happy to help.
What's the best way to apply razorpay? Is it directly via the job application? And I would also love to know when people cold, what's the best practice they can do from your perspective? What's the most skillful way that people can apply and reach out to you that stands out?
Um, yeah, I am not always hiring for my teams. Maybe messaging me was not the best way. Currently, I am, so it's great. I think best thing is reference work. So if you know anyone at a company and you want to go via them, that's amazing. Otherwise, applying on our portal plus messaging someone from the team if you know them, even if they're not in design helps.
Okay. And then next one by Niladri. Exploring design engineering or improving design taste skills and just able to use AI tools. Out of all these things, maybe first option is exploring design engineering, second is improving design taste and design skills, or just able to use AI tools. Which one of these do you think is a good path to go? There's so many options to be done, but what would you bet on out of these options?
When I'm thinking about this for myself, I always reverse it. I think, okay, 10 years down the line, what is the sort of role and company I would want to work at? It makes it very easy to understand that if this is the place, this is the sort of skill you'll have to learn. And for questions like portfolio, right, I don't think anyone would be able to tell you that this is a short portfolio that works. If they tell you that, they're probably lying because a portfolio that works for an Amazon will not work for an Airbnb. So if you are figuring out what tools you should learn, think in the next 3 years, this person's trajectory looks good. If they are working at this role in this company, what have they learned or what are their skills? I would pick up that. Business actually came into my life like that. Most of the design people around me who I looked up to had a very solid understanding of business. Even to date, my strengths would be very easily working with founders, PMs, business folks, which maybe a lot of designers can't. My strengths might not be animation. I won't be the best logo or graphic designer, which other designers would be amazing at. So, yeah, pick what side works for you. Don't try to learn everything in the best possible manner because it's not physically possible. I do that with my team also. I know there's a solid motion designer in my team, and people are creating crazy demo videos for their products. Landing pages are getting amazing and using skills there. One person is great at working with stakeholders, can easily manage communication well, and I put them in teams in that way. I would love to know from this person who's asked this, Shivam, you mentioned. If you're here, I
Yeah, feel free to speak up or write in the chat, Niladri.
Hi, Charmie. My thought is like currently as evolving, there is like multiple areas that you can experiment. But
Hmm,
design engineering is the intersection where we are learning coding as well as designing. And if we see the
hmm,
US market, most of the roles that are opening up there is probably around the role which goes in this intersection. While in
hmm,
India, more designers are exploring the AI tools and just being more productive and not actually going in that intersection. So
hmm,
if you would bet on something, like I was just
hmm.
just wanting to ask, like
Okay.
what would be what the what?
And also in India, I've seen a lot of people coding around me. I'm also trying to learn that because I do feel it is getting easier to build. I would bet on people who can code as well as design. But I do think the number of good designers is still very less in the world. So if you are a great designer and want to spend time on perfecting one of those things, I would bet on designer like that as well. In short, I think people like to pick up a lot of things and not go into depth of one or two things, even if it's coding, even if it is visuals. If you go deeper into any one of them, the number of options are a lot in India today.
Maybe we can take just two last questions. One is about Tejas. In today's landscape, where business is often linked to design directly, how do you think the role of designers differ between startups and big tech, especially when the focus shifts from just solving user problem to also driving revenue?
So is the assumption that revenue is part of startup and revenue is not in big tech?
Do you want to come out and maybe elaborate here? What do you intend to ask if you are here?
I just wanted to ask in small startup like small service-based companies where
Hmm.
the main aim is just to deliver products. Sort of UX is there, but not that much as we see in big product-based companies. In big product-based companies, the primary motive is to drive revenue along with adjusting the user needs.
And the final question is,
How do we differentiate between big techs where the focus is more towards revenue and
hmm,
startup where the focus is towards just delivering the projects?
even in startups, there are a lot of different types where maybe business is important to one right now, maybe user is important to one right now. You have to work in the way your company is structured to a large extent. I have seen in larger organizations, for example, a specific team in Google might not always be user first. It might be in tools or a complete B2B play where you're not getting to do certain things. It's hard to find what you want to do within all the structures. What worked for me is trying something, building something of my own outside. I'll give you an example. When I had never worked closely with analytics or data, even at Dunzo or Microsoft, very different things I was working on. When I was doing my master's, I thought I want to figure out how products grow and scale and just understand the basics. When people used to say funnel and metrics, I used to not grasp a lot of it. So I built this tool and I brought together a team of three engineers, one designer, and I wanted to be that product analytics person. So it was COVID, and we built this social habit tracking app called Habit Waves. We want to see if people are sticking to habits during COVID, and you can see your friend's progress. So if Shivam has a streak of 10 days, can he see that Charlie has a streak of 9 days? And if I'm breaking my streak, he'll ping me or do something. So I set up Google Analytics on my own. I tried marketing or growth along with it that hey, should referrals work? And then I saw, okay, if I'm giving someone a referral, I'm getting two more users from there and saw how that translates into actual data. And then second, I was trying different countries also. So I was lucky to be in the US that time and I had friends from different geographies. So I told them, hey, can you share this Europe, Australia, or Africa, and then figure out what were the patterns there on data. Are people using it multiple times a day, single time? So I don't mean it was a startup or a product which was meant to make money, but I learned a lot about data and marketing. I spent 100 rupees on Facebook ads and figured, okay, these are the kind of users I want, or spent 200 rupees on Instagram and got that understanding help, like which TG do you want to target, which one actually ended up using it more. So I think there are avenues of learning things which might not be in your company from outside as well. And throughout my career, I've done that a lot and do encourage that to everyone.
Any
Hmm.
books, resources, blogs would you like to recommend?
I love reading Julie Zhou, I think is famous and love her blogs as well. There's another designer called Lily Collins who I read about. Inspirational designer. I think she's previously at Instagram, now at Figma. I have started reading a lot of fiction. I read a lot of books on productivity and hacks, and I feel it's a lot because every day it's just with jobs. I do read a book every month, and I've deleted Instagram for more than a year now. So much time has been saved, and I've read more than 15 books in the last year. Even I try to pick up things which I would have never read. Like, it doesn't have to be business, it doesn't have to be psychology, pure fiction. I unfortunately wouldn't be able to recommend any good books right now. There's this book called Creativity, which I really like about taking bold bets and just thinking in different ways. I also see someone that's sneaker recommendations for running. We need another hour if you want to talk about sneakers right now. I really like on running shows right now. I use them for running and walking mostly. I'm also a New Balance fan. I have a lot of Nike shoes, but I also like on running because of the design and New Balance more for casual wear today.
Really, really cool. So I think let's wrap this up. Thank you so much, Charlie, for your time. And maybe we can take a group picture quickly. I'll just switch on the gallery mode. Folks, you can switch on the camera just for a few seconds. That will be nice. Okay, so waiting for people to switch on the camera. Okay, we can do better. I'll take a picture. Just a second. Great.
Do you want emojis in your screenshots?
Yeah, that's a good idea. We all can put the emojis. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Thanks again, Charmy, for your time. And thank you for joining all of you from Paris. So much to learn.
Thank
Yeah.
you.